Now, the names Honor and Huawei have featured a lot on the phone show over the last few years, with good reason. They've been very active in Europe. This is the Honor 10. Can it justify its existence? Actually, yes, there is stuff that's new. There are quirks, as always, but they're eminently livable with, thanks to the surprisingly low price point. The two main thrusts at the Honor 10 launch were design, evidenced here by the reflective optical coating on the phone's back, and thankfully, potentially always on view, even in real life, because there's a rather excellent TPU case included in the box. I'm putting that on straight away. This is very, very slippery, one of the most droppable phones I've ever handled, but with the case on, it's perfect. Also, AI, artificial intelligence, evidenced in the camera functions, of which more later. This is the best Honor phone that I've ever used, and it is cracking value for money. £399, including VAT, for the 128GB version here in the UK, though the caveats do come thick and fast for the discerning. Anyone who's used a Galaxy S9 or iPhone 10, the same form factor, and also the two phones used in the Honor 10 launch as examples, they'll immediately be disappointed by the lack of stereo speakers, the lack of Qi charging, the lack of OAS on the camera front, the lack of water and dust proofing, the lack of card expansion, and always on display, the last two compared to the S9, of course. But I don't want these disappointments to dominate here because they're all eminently excusable at the price. Half that of the Galaxy S9, a third that of the iPhone 10. This is a stunningly good phone for under £400. It looks beautiful, runs fast, and it's a cracking Android experience once you've done some tidying up of the built-in software setup. You see, this is Android 8.1, but also Emotion UI 8.1, which in itself isn't an issue. There are enough extras to make it useful. You can restore an app drawer if you like. You can hide the notch, as I did here, by turning it black with white text and icons. Even some of the device optimization stuff is going to be a lifesaver for the man in the street. What's slightly harder to live with is the bloatware, though, included presumably to help subsidise the phone in the first place, so maybe we shouldn't complain. But a vast antivirus here can't be disabled or uninstalled. Ditto app gallery. There's Facebook, QuickBooking.com, eBay, Instagram, Netflix, Asphalt Nitro, Kingdoms, Dragon Mania, Puzzle Pets, Spider-Man and Assassin's Creed games, all of which can be uninstalled if not wanted, thankfully. Again, at the price point, bundling a load of titles is forgivable. Half an hour's fiddling around, changing theme, uninstalling things, installing your own favourites. Shuffling icons, maybe adding an app drawer, will give you a cleaner and more satisfying experience. And for once, you don't have to worry about choosing dark themes or elements, as the Honor 10 uses an IPS LCD 1080p screen. That's both excellent and also backlight based, so lighter UI elements just make things clearer and don't cost you battery life. Now, much was made at the launch of the ultrasonic fingerprint sensor, unusual in the phone world. Its advantages are that it's underneath the main display glass, though not under the display itself yet, and that it can be used if your finger is wet, a scenario that often confuses the capacitive sensors on traditional smartphones. The downsides are you have to relearn how you use a phone fingerprint sensor. Capacitive sensors only require the very lightest touch to activate, but the ultrasonic system here requires a firm and flat press. It takes a little getting used to, and it's ultimately slower in use. Happily, the face unlock system works instantly and brilliantly via the 24-megapixel f/2.0 front-facing camera, which thankfully avoids too much fingerprint pressing frustrations. You just pick your phone up, the screen lights up, and you're in. Bang. No presses, no gestures, magical, almost iPhone 10-esque. The decision to put the fingerprint sensor on the front of the phone, despite the notch pretensions at the top, can be justified easily by the rather nifty way Huawei and Honor use the sensor as a navigation control, so tap to go back, long tap to go home, swipe for recent apps, and so on. This part works brilliantly, and it does away with on-screen controls, giving again, along with the notch here for the status icons, the absolute maximum room for content, which I like very much. The rest of the hardware is sleek and slippery, at least when not cased, but there's nothing missing. So you get a 3.5mm headphone jack, always a real-world user favourite, USB Type-C with Huawei Supercharge, and a charger in the box, plus a mono speaker that's actually pretty good, just not very loud overall. In comparison to the speaker setups on the aforementioned Galaxy S9 and iPhone 10, the Honor 10 pales. But again, consider the price and be happy. Imaging is one of the Honor 10's strengths, or so the marketeers would have you believe, with the focus on AI, artificial intelligence. The idea is that the dual camera 16 megapixel colour plus 24 megapixel monochrome, in addition to the usual aperture, portrait and zoom tricks, can recognise subjects and scenes, break them into layers, i.e. subject, other foreground objects, background, and then optimise the image processing for each independently. So that encompasses HDR, optimization, sharpening, noise reduction, all of that. In practice, this approach is sometimes heavy-handed, especially for greenery, but it works well for everyday subjects. Sunsets, cars, pets, food and so on, and I'd agree with Honor that it's a definite selling point for the end user. Interestingly, on my review device, the AI processing was turned off out of the box and kept reverting to off between camera launches, possibly to help a user save space. The AI enhanced photos are twice the size and they include the original JPEG as well. I suspect this might be reversed at some point. For the casual snapper, it's well worth the price of entry to have AI on all the time. And yes, there is a pro mode for anyone who wants more control over what's being snapped. Photos from the Honor 10 are really impressive, not just because of the AI enhancements, though they help, because the high quality electronic image stabilisation, EIS, is terrific, obviating the need for physical OIS completely. My guess is that the chipsets here are now so fast that sensor data can be retrieved and aligned in RAM in real time, for example, for longer exposures and low light. Regardless, whatever challenging light scenarios I threw at the Honor 10, images were always crisp. Video is also steady for similar reasons, and with stereo sound, though you do lose the stabilisation if you go up to the full 4K resolution. I have to call out one real-world problem though for my personal use of phone imaging. The LCD screen's contrast is okay head-on when using the phone outdoors, but it's terrible at an angle when the sun's out. So, I know this seems like an unlikely scenario, but it's surprising how often you have to hold the phone at an odd angle to get a particular photo, for example, of a flower or a view over a wire fence. And the viewfinder then is basically a mirror on the Honor 10. I did back-to-back tests with my Galaxy S9, shooting this by the way, and it was night and day, helped by the AMOLED screens being great on the S9 from all angles and by Samsung artificially punching up brightness while the camera is in use. Oh well. Battery life is very decent, easily a full day for most people thanks to a large 3400 mAh battery and the default aggressive process management and EMUI. Don't worry if you need a particular application handled more delicately, then this is possible too. In fact, everything's a little aggressive out of the box. There's the built-in Avast virus scanner, there are 3 separate battery saving modes, there are suggested battery optimizations to settings, all designed to help the man in the street, but phone show watchers, well, for them the measures are often a bit over the top. Still, everything's fast and fluid, driven by a Kirin 970 processor, that's top end, and 4GB of RAM. The lack of card expansion may annoy some people, but 128GB does take a bit of filling, and for the average user it's more than enough. With the caveats mentioned, the 10 is the best smartphone Honor has made to date. A little like the iPhone 10 being the best iPhone Apple has made, and with the same headline number, the same form factor, the same notched idea, yet the Honor 10 is roughly a third the price, and comes with a fast charger and a decent case in the box. Go figure. EMUI still has its detractors, the Android purists of course, but it's absolutely fine for day-to-day use, just needs a little taming here and there in settings, and I'd recommend giving it a chance. Honor has got so much right here. The 10 should be a slam dunk choice for a great many people.